So we've hit, I think it's week 6, yeah, week 6 now of BT17 Secret Crisis, and I think the Evolution Cups are still going on, and then some of the Asia Grand or Grand Asia Cycle events are going on. I need to figure out what the actual distinction between these two are. They changed it this year, and I don't know the difference between the Evolution Cups and the Asia Grand Open Cycle events are. There's these like new events for, I guess, like this time period that they're running, but I think that they're for like qualifying spots for Worlds or at least another set of tournaments, but I need to do some more research here. But because of that, things are getting a bit more competitive, and that means that folks are starting to sweat. Yeah, folks are starting to sweat a little bit more, and it kind of shows. And we take a look at this week's results. Yeah, at the top, I think it's official now. I haven't really like made the announcement, but it feels official. Like, Ancient Garurumon is a problem deck. It's really good. It just moonwalks past Magna X, like I said before, doesn't care about blocker, and it goes dummy fast. Although I am starting the petition now because people are using like a red lower end for eggs and stuff like that, and also with Ugomon cards, and then the blue stuff is at the hybrid level, like for the tamers and level 4s and up. Can we call this America Hybrid? It is red, white, and blue, and it is number 1. Can we call this American Hybrid? I think I made a really strong case there. So American Hybrid, very strong showing right alongside Numamon, and Numamon actually looks like somebody had the same idea that I had, was able to splash in some of the new stuff from the Liberator Starter Decks, which is pretty cool. Underneath them is Magna X. I still don't know why this is. I guess it's just the people who like Magna. I don't know. Magna X, Magna Armor, not Vaccine Armor, is right below both of them. Of course, like, being swarmed by Numamon, they have the ways to get around him, and then Ancient Garurumon, like I said before, doesn't care if he's even there, so they just treat him as an invisible wall, just walk through him. Underneath him, it's good to see this, although this week at Locals I got murdered playing Jes The Dolls. I don't know what it is. You guys ever had like those days where you have, like, you're practicing and everything just goes right, like you're playing with your buddies, you're like just testing out stuff, you're like double checking plays, and everything works perfectly, and then you get to like real event day, or like, you know, real tournament day, and your deck just like, you know what, not today, bro. I'm gonna take a nap. Here's 14 level 5s and some level 4s and all the level 3s at the bottom of the deck and insecurity. Good luck. I swear to God, that's me every time I play. I play a guy in my my Discord server at Locals. His name is 47 or Yonjunana, and every time we play together or we get matched up in Locals, the match is 3 minutes long. I can't find a level 3 or level 4, I die, and he plays red hybrid, so he just cooks my ass. And I'm like, hey, you want to play again since we've got like 20 minutes still? And he's like, sure. And then my deck actually decides to work when it doesn't matter. It's like, I swear to God, only like when it matters does my Jes The Dolls deck become like a Freemason and just start like bricking up houses. And my rant is over. Jes The Dolls though is really good. Looking forward to the deck profile for that deck later this week. Outside of that, Imperial still very strong. There's a guy in Tokyo named Aki. I swear to God, like every week I look at Twitter, he has like 3 wins for Evo Cups under his belt with this deck. He's so good with it. I feel like he might be carrying the deck the most. I don't know. And then strangely enough, Ancient Greymon is here. We've seen like the blue hybrid stuff, but the red hybrid stuff definitely exists. And part of me feels like it's the fact that people started to just put in Shine Greymon Ruin mode at the top end, considering Ancient Greymon is purple. That gives you a line, and the Ancient Greymon has that you can go into him for 2, and then he dies at the end of the turn, so you can use that with the Shine Greymon Ruin mode, and he dies, and then, you know, get to do all the Shine Greymon Ruin mode stuff, and your opponent doesn't get to play. That's my guess, but who knows? Beneath them is Finnerlugomon Takamikazuchi, mouthful. Rapidmon, things like Tyrant, and then Vaccine Armor. Shoutouts to my buddy Javi, who actually won. He's been practicing and playing with this deck for a while now, and he finally got a win under his belt. He's always been like, it feels like 1 win away from like taking an Evolution Cup, but he finally got it this week, and we're gonna take a look at one of his decks later because it's very well built. And then at the in-training level, it's just this like mishmash of stuff everywhere. 7 Great Demon Lords. This is Agumon Rush. I've changed the images a little bit, so this is just the like Agumon Rush deck that I showed off a couple weeks ago, using things like the Agumon Bond of Courage alongside the Wargreymon from Blastoise that can digivolve off of an Agumon, alongside the things like Skullgreymon, so it keeps up lots of tempo very quickly. Devas was there. This, I think it was in the Philippines or Malaysia, was it? It was somewhere in Southeast Asia. Digipolice with Oryumon just kicked ass. 32-man bracket, and it just like sailed through there. All right. Eosmon is back again. This is Gabumon Rush. So we had Agumon Rush, but we also have Gabumon Rush. It's the same thing, or similar things, where the Gabumon cards let you draw a bunch. The Tamers give you card draw as well, and then you also have the Agubon Ace, and then the Agubon, like the regular version, who's also really good in his own right. Like 3 swings. I think I showed off a list for this like 2 weeks ago or so. Maybe it was last week. So if you want to know more about that deck, definitely check out the older videos. Grace Nova has this, they're undergoing this really weird like polymerization. Probably not the right word, but whatever. We'll use it for, even though we're thematically off the mark. With Mirage Galgamon, it feels like a lot of the Grace Nova stuff, like the lower end is all normal Light Fang or Night Claw Light Fang cards, and then they level 6 is just Mirage Galgamon, which kind of makes sense. I mean, you know. Mirage Galgamon, amazing. Bouncing is such good removal right now. Also, Jesmon. I said before, I started talking about this, Jesmon is really good right now, and they only got better, I think, because now they actually have a tamer for the deck. Not an intentional tamer, but like the Arisa tamer from the starter deck for Digimon Liberator, the Fable Waltz one, is kind of useful. You can play Sistermons and then they can attack immediately, so Jesmon gets a little bit faster. Alongside things like Leomon, and this next one, I did not expect to see Machinedramon win anything ever again. I actually tried to put together a list myself this week, and I followed this like really easy pattern. It's like, long for a good Machinedramon deck, think about a good Machinedramon deck, put together a good Machinedramon deck, test the Machinedramon deck, and then dismantle the Machinedramon deck out of frustration. And I feel like that is like a cycle I go through at least once per set. I can make Machinedramon work, I believe. Although I fail every single set. Looks like somebody didn't here. We'll take a look at, I think, this list a little bit later as well. Alongside something like Gallimon Mills. I think the top ends for these are now just using Lilithmon. Maybe I should update the icon here to be a bit more descriptive. And then Mirage Galgamon, Royal Knight, and then 1 Sakiyamon. I don't know how, I don't know why, but they did it. And I'm kind of happy because Sakiyamon, the new artwork for this card, it's kind of good. Like, it looked like it should have been an alt art and it was just a regular rare card. Yeah, I think the big takeaway is that Ancient Garurumon is the deck to beat now. I played against it this week. It was my first round actually, and it's so hard to stop them. They just bouncing things to hand. You also have to pick up a security, and they can just like run through so quickly, draw a bunch of cards off of their source effects, and you really don't have much way in the way of stopping it. Looking for a new version of Black Wargreymon X Antibody to come along so I can just stop them in their tracks, and then Hotties force the shit out of them. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the week. Not a whole lot's changed, but I think it's fair to say that Ancient Garurumon is one of the best decks in this set, and let's make it official. Let's take a look at a few decks. So the first one is from Akihabara, a place called Cherumo. It's a place I've played at before, but this is from my buddy Javi one with Rapidmon Armor. I realized we talk about, or I talk shit about Rapidmon Armor quite a bit, but we haven't really seen a list for a while, and part of that is because the deck hasn't changed too much. There's been a few nice little changes, but some of the things here, he runs all Tokomons, and except the 1 copy of Upamon, which is a little bit more defensive. I guess in case you need another blocker. It's kind of nice to also put blocker on something like a Rapidmon X, because if it has 2 colors, it gets blocker. Although I guess Rapidmon X is mostly swinging, so I wonder, maybe you could use it for a Ruin mode. That's also a possibility. Or Venusmon. Ooh. No, Venusmon would need it. But anyway, Upamon instead of the Kettlemon, which I think is a bit more common. Folks want jamming, but they typically don't even need it. So Upamon seems like a nice choice here. The lower end is pretty straightforward. It's surprisingly no Ukomon. I know a lot of folks are probably like, wait, what a second? Why? Where's my free whatever I want search? But no, all Patamon, all Pillowmon, and then all, this is hard to see, but it's, what's his name? Kudamon. He's the search. This is nice because the issue you do run into if you're playing Ukomon is that if you promote an Ukomon, you get the speed of like those small checks, but you can never go into a Rapid X. So in the case that you don't find a level 3 that can evolve into a level 4s, you're kind of just stuck like searching with Ukomon and hoping you don't like whiff a search, or you don't like not have a level 3 at some point. Because if you run out of level 3s, then you pretty much just get outpaced by like every deck in the game. So yeah, all yellow at the bottom here, which I don't hate. I've tried the Ukomon in here myself, and it's nice to just have the search and to get like the continuous like hatching, but not being able to evolve in the case you don't see Patamon early on is kind of painful. So I don't hate the Kudamon and the Pillowmon here. Pillowmon I think is a staple though. For the level 4s, the Rapidmons are pretty much staples for the deck. He opts to go with a couple of gold Vigimons. I'd probably say these are staples too at this point. Being able to freeze stuff, and you also have something with Armor Purge, which means you can go into your Magnamon if you find Awakening of the Golden Knight, is nice, and then giving DP minus is just such a nice little like slot in for the deck, considering everything else does the same thing. Level 4s, he only has 4 level 4s, and that's for the occasional ace, or if you need to actually go up the chain, you can heal while you're doing it. Looks like because he's got the 3 Awakening of the Golden Knights, he's opting to go from Rapidmon into Magna X instead of like having to go all the way up. But just in case you've got the level 5s here, you have a level 4 down like the Gold Vigimon here, then you can just go into the blast for a potential counter. I think a lot of folks have trouble with the... Do you guys have trouble with like the splits between Awakening Golden of the Golden Knight and Emissary of Hope? He runs like a nice little split here. Personally, I like the 2-4 split, but yeah, I mean, even is fine considering his game plan. He has less level 5s. I also run a couple more level 5s on my list, but yeah, I like his a little bit better. And then also, yeah, he has to make room at the top end for some of the level 6s, and so as a result, you only see 3 of the physical trainings. I will say though, I love the addition of Venusmon. Venusmon is such a great way, especially in the mirror, to shut off Magnamon X's abilities. So he drops, you're like, no, do not friend. This is also useful in the case of, pretty much any other deck, honestly. And if it needs to go up the line, in the case like, I don't know, pretty much everything, yeah. Magna, Impe, Dexdorogodamon, everything just gets shut off with Venusmon on the board, and so if you have a Magna up, you can just drop a Venus, and then they really just can't do anything. That just basically gives you another turn. You have the Rapidmon X's here as well for the offensive ability, and the ability to really like hammer in and get a ton of memory in a single turn, where you're going to play him for 4. Whenever he comes down, something is probably dying, considering how much everything else in the deck also can DP minus. So yeah, Rapidmon X is a great way to like take a security and then keep your turn and still like do another play alongside of it, which I think is really rare for a lot of decks. And then the top end here, as you would imagine, is good old Ruin mode. $100 a pop over here in Japan at this point. I feel so dumb. I don't know how many of you folks watched it, but I was on the Digimon podcast speaking to Varney, and I think it was Sam, and was it Dan? Might have been Dan. I think it was Dan, sorry. And I was like, guys, don't be like me. Don't scoff at buying a Shine Greymon Ruin mode for $40 and you kick yourself in the ass later because he's like 2.5 times that, and you're like, why? Why? Is Numemon still very strong? Absolutely. Numemon is still very strong. Get your Shine Greymon Ruin modes. 2 copies should be enough for you, but if you can find more at a good price, definitely grab them. Because I don't think it's like Dexmon, right? It's going to be a card that's never bad. But yeah, congrats again to Javi. This deck kicked ass, and I'm so glad that he actually got a dub with it. He's been practicing with it a ton and putting in a lot of work, and so I'm glad to see that it paid off. Again, the standout here for me is honestly the Venusmon. Just such a good counter card to a lot of stuff right now. The next one I want to show off is one that we also haven't seen for a while, and that is good old Numemon. And I mentioned that Numemon looks like some folks had the same idea that I did in adding a couple copies of in Japanese it's Sandremon, in English it's Syndromon, from the Liberator Starter Deck. For folks who don't remember what she does, let's pull her up really quickly. She's got the Overclock effect where at the end of turn she can destroy a puppet token, and then she can attack the player without suspending. So she's kind of like a Digimon Superior mode, where even if she is suspended, you can still attack at the end of the turn. And Blocker's nice, but honestly, the fact that she digivolves and puts out 2 tokens herself means that you're always going to get that overclock effect the first turn she comes down, which, if you really think about it, Syndromon is kind of like Blitz Omni for game, which is, did Yellow need that? Can we just take a moment and really consider, did they need that? No. So, she is only 3 cost of all, which is not bad, and considering that deck is so good, Numemon anyway, is so good with memory, you can actually get the attack off if you need to, but again, at the end of turn, if she's around, then you still get to use the attack for game, so wipe out the security, and then in turn, Syndromon, Overclock, win the game. The new Numemon deck can just add in Syndromon, it's like a Blitz Omni for game. 2 here's seems okay, but the thing that you have to worry about, especially for Numemon, is what your top end looks like. And so they've got only 1 Valkyrie Ace and 2 Ruin modes and then 2 Syndromons. So I think they're a bit more offensive, hoping that the Syndromons will just kind of carry them till the end of the game. If not, I mean, you have like the 1 ace card, but other than that, like, there's no Venusmon here. There's no other ace cards. Like, well, having only 1 ace card, this is something that I've really like thought about for a while, and I don't like the idea of having just 1. Like, if they know it's in the deck, then great, they have to play around it. But if they don't know it's in the deck, I mean, your chance of having it are pretty low anyway. I like the idea of at least like 2 of an ace, or just 2 ace cards in general. Like, having 2 ways to like counter seems like decent enough. You don't want to run too many, because then, you know, you start giving away memory, and nobody wants that. So Yellow already is cheating, so last thing I need is for them to cheat more. The lower end here is kind of cool. The Dorimon is interesting. I don't know how many copies, unfortunately, because it's really hard to see, but it looks like it's just 1 copy. I could be wrong here. And considering they don't have many, or they do have all the Ukomons maxed out in the BT16 one and the promo one. There's not a lot of space left for the other black cards, so it's 2 Chews, 2 Chikuri, and then 1 Dorimon, or Dorumon. I guess that when he searches, he can actually pull out the X antibody cards, and then if you were to slot a proto form up underneath him, you actually get a memory back, so it's like 2 memory instead of just 1. Not a bad tech idea, actually. I actually don't hate that the more I think about it. Where I think most people will go with the Floodgate, he's like, how can I cheat more? The rest of the deck here is actually pretty straightforward. It's like, I think, pretty common as well. So you mostly see like 4 Getemons for card draw, the 1 Getemon here for secret attack minus to stall a little bit. You've got your Platinum Numemons, which you're trying to find, and then send it to the trash so that you can get memory back whenever one of your Numemon dies, and they have Numemon X in their sources. Monzaimon and Monzaimon X are for removal, minus 3k and secret attack minus 1, and then minus 2k, I think it is, for every Digimon on board. The 1 copy of the Water Monzaimon is nice just because De-Digivolve is a really good mechanic, and it's a way to get around some potential aces. So Water Monzaimon is there as well. And then, yeah, everything else is pretty much the same. Only 1 copy of Digimon Kaiser. This is a card that is becoming really popular, because of decks like Ancient Garurumon and Patamon and like Tyrant as well. Like, any deck that wants to pull out a level 3, even like Red Agumon, in the case some folks play that. Anytime they want to pull out a level 3, then Kaiser is just like nail in the coffin, like turns over. And like stacking 2 Kaisers is like a death sentence for any of those decks that needs to get a level 3 out to like start to make a giant like steamroll. So yeah, Digimon Kaiser, if you don't have 4 copies, I would recommend grabbing. I did want to take another look at a different version of this deck, just because there are so many ways to build it, and that is this one here. And this one, pretty similar here, so we see the similar approach to level 3s, where it says instead of like a 2-2 split and then 1 Dorumon, it's just a 1-3, and then the Ukomons. On the top end, though, they run more Venusmons, still only 1 Valk Ace. Really? Is this normal now? Huh. 1 Valk Ace, 1 Shine Greymon Ruin mode, and 2 copies of Kaiser. I think 2 is a really good number. Only 2 Ruis, though. The yellow scramble is kind of weird for me. What are you getting with this? A Getemon? This is so confusing. There are only 4 cards in the deck that this card can pull. I guess you're just using it for the cheaper Digivolution cost. That's wild to me, though. Whoa. Yeah, Digimon Kaiser is the Ukomon hater. I mean, there is counterplay. Even though Ukomon gives memory too, so sometimes you gotta be careful. 2-2? I don't like the yellow scramble. Maybe a black scramble would be better here. I'd be happier with the black scramble because you have more options than like the Chikuri or the Getemon. And this Getemon, I think, on play gives you the draw too. So I feel like you would want to have this if you're forced to use the yellow scramble. I think you would want this. I don't know. But they only run one copy of the Syndramon instead of the two we saw before, and they run two Venus, which I really like. Venus is such a good card, especially if you're fighting up or going up against Magna, or pretty much any other deck, even though things like Ancient Grumon do have some counterplay. But what do they evolve with Black Scramble? Yeah, that's a fair point. I guess you're waiting like the War Monzaimon, or yeah, you're never going to evolve into a Platinumon. A Platinum Numamon, so maybe that's a fair point. But yeah, I guess it's a damned if you... Maybe you should just change this card. Yeah, Albert, that's a great point though. Like, what else would you actually put? But yeah, I just want to show off I talked about before where this deck is kind of like, or this card, Syndramon, is essentially like the Omni Blitz or Blitz Omni for game. So one copy is kind of nice just to like seal games off, and your deck draws so much anyway that you can probably find it pretty easily. Again, kind of how Agumon and Greymon run the one Blitz Omni for game, or like red decks in general do that. You can kind of run the one Syndramon for game as well. Oh yeah, I said I wanted to show off the Machinedramon deck, and they did it to me again, where they gave me the literal worst quality for a camera or a picture that you could possibly make, and I had to painstakingly... This is actually one of the reasons the stream is late. I had to painstakingly go through these cards to figure out what the hell they were. Oh, whoops. So I did my due diligence, and I actually put together the deck over here as well. And then I made the mistake of realizing that it does this whenever I close out the other stuff, so I'm just gonna do it like this. But the deck is pretty straightforward. I think there are two types of Machinedramon. There's one type where your goal is to just amass cards and actually play down the Machinedramon. This guy right here, the old EX1 Machinedramon, full stop. That way, you get a bunch of effects. He can't be DP-, which is really good against yellow. And he becomes a problem because he can go into, the Chaosdramon and then later on the Chaosdramon X Antibody. And when he drops, it's pretty much a death sentence for most decks in the game. This deck, though, opts to go for the evolution route, which is like Machinedramon from BT11, where they can evolve up the chain. So they have the two copies of the old Machinedramon here just in case, because they do run 15 level 5s. But this deck has level 3s and has level 4s and aims that it can use them to play on the board and then use them later on for cheap evolves on the level 4 side, and then maybe a useful evolve on the level 5 side to very quickly get into this Machinedramon here. And then if he dies, you can essentially just bottom deck an Analog Man, which in my opinion is the most terrifying thing in the world. And then you can just play another Machinedramon from your hand. So you can like roll, once you get the first one down, you can kind of roll, you can keep rolling them out onto the board as long as you have the resources in hand. As far as this one, I think, so again, this is the picture that I was working with, and then some of these level 5s are kind of hard to tell. For example, this one right here is like the one that gave me the most trouble. I don't know what the hell this third one is, but I made an educated guess based on what's useful. Yeah, so you've got pretty much the basic stuff. So plus 3,000 from Metal Greymon, plus 2,000 from Megidramon on your turn, and then on your opponent's turn you got the other Gigadramon, who is plus 2,000 as well. This way you can like buff up your stuff. I've seen some decks run a couple copies of the TIE Tamer, the starter deck TIE Tamer, who lets you go and redirect attacks. Or whenever you redirect an attack, you get 2,000 DP, which I think is really useful, or actually necessary at this point, but this deck runs none of that. Instead, they go super heavy on black memory boosts and defense trainings. So 4-2 split. This is crazy to me, the black. I guess they really want to like dig deep for their pieces, so they run more black memory boosts than the training cards. And only 2 copies of Attack of the Heavy Mobile Digimon. I don't know, how do you guys feel about this? You have an option that's actually really useful, but if it's also checked in security, it's also great removal. And so I've been thinking to run this card for pretty much every time I build the deck, but is 2 okay, do you think? Can you run less than 4? I mean, I'm showing off a deck that technically does that, but I'm interested to know what you guys think, because this card's been out for a while, so I can, we have like, I think everybody can have a decent opinion on this one. I guess while you guys figure that out, yeah, only 1 copy of the Cyberdramon. It runs 1 copy pretty much every level 5, with the exception the Megadramon. So the Megadramon from BT15, which you folks have access to in the States or in the West, is like a searcher, which is great because he searches, puts something underneath. And this is just good because if you do end up evolving into the Machinedramon here, he also lets you do a similar thing where you can, put a machine or a cyborg underneath him. So even if you, go into and evolve into your Machinedramon by the Megadramon, and then to him, you actually have quite a few sources, so he can actually be useful in having a bunch of different effects, and then you can later use those to play the Machinedramon here. So it's kind of nice, like the SOC Megadramon goes into Machinedramon, and then later on when he dies, you can go into and recycle the level 5 cyborg pieces for this Machinedramon here. And then, yeah, it's all of the EX1 level 5s here. Because this deck ends up going and running the ability to evolve into level 6, these guys are actually pretty good. Again, it's just more ways to dig through the deck for the pieces you need. And even though the deck runs like 15 different level 5s, you can, how to say this, you can kind of group them up into similar effects. And so, where some people might see 15 different cards, you see like 3 or 4 different groups of cards. So like I mentioned before, the Megadramon and the Gigadramon and the Metal Greymon, you consider them all like buff cards. So cards that, like a group of cards that just buff up a Digimon. You've also got cards that like do extra security damage. In the case of things like the Megadramon here, who gives security attack +1, or the Volcanomon here, and I don't even know his name until just now, wow. Or the like Metal Tyrannomon, who whenever you attack a Digimon and destroy it by battle on either turn, then you get to check or discard a security from your opponent's side. So like that's a group of cards as well. And yeah, so and there's others like just really good effects like the Metal Greymon, who lets you attack unsuspended. That's typically how I think about the deck. And so cards that have while these cards' inheritance effects are all different, the ability or the class of cards lets you search alongside things like the Megadramon are kind of nice. And that's honestly how I think you should probably think about the deck when you're building it. Probably makes it much easier than having to like balance 15 different cards in your head. Also, yeah, the 2 copies of the Super Eradication attack. I always forget this card. 2 cost. When you have a level 6, you can just play it without worrying about the color requirements. So that if you just have like a Machinedramon down, you can just play this card. So choose the Machine or Cyborg and then delete 1 Digimon and one of your opponent's Digimon with less DP or equal to your Digimon. This seems like a really niche card. I always see people run this, but I never understand like what you're really getting out of this. Like, there are cards that you use when... Sorry, I'm on a soapbox right now, my bad, in case folks weren't aware. I'm on my soapbox right now. There are cards that you can use when you're winning, which is great. That means you can just build an advantage. And there are cards you can use when you're losing to make a reversal. This seems like a card that you would use when you're winning. And I feel like you kind of, when you're playing Machinedramon, you kind of start on the back foot because you're a little bit slower than other decks in the game right now. To have a card like this, 2 copies of a card that like, hey, when you're winning, here's how you can extend. But if you're behind, I feel like it's really hard to get some use out of this card. Maybe if you like can use it on your own Machinedramon and like steamroll to get his own effect. There are cards like this that are like do better than you're already doing, even though you're having a good day. And there are cards that I want to use that are like, hey, you're having an awful day. here's some help. I feel like I would want to use something that's a bit more, I don't know, reversally in this case, that can actually help me if I'm down. But I don't know what that would be. Every time I look at the new Cyberdron, I'm like, yeah, that's what Black needed. And then I think to myself, man, it would be really nice if this wasn't an ace card. Can I just have everything? You know what? Don't even give me the Digivolve effect. Just give me this card without it being an ace. And you can jack up the cost to like 7. 7-3, I'm fine. It's okay. I just wanted a way to like play a tamer and not have to like eat shit for it later on in case my dude dies and I have to like burn 2 sources, and he's one of the only ones I have left. Also, my man is packing. God dang! If you are like me and you think that, you know what, it's that time of the set where I think about Machinedramon, don't be like me, make a deck, get frustrated, be like this guy, and make a deck and actually win with it. I hope this one is more useful than anything that I've made. Those are all the decks that I saw. Oh yeah, here's an example of Jesmon with the new Arisa Tamers. This is what I meant. He didn't show off one of the cards though. I wonder why that is. Also, Jesus Christ, what is this right here? But yeah. Oh, surprisingly, there's no Magnamon in here. You can run Magnamon X in this and actually do pretty well. Slotting Magnamon X underneath Jesmon X is kind of scary. But yeah, when you have the Arisa down, the sister mons, when they come out, all get rush. So, kind of spooky. Ah, here we go. Eosmon. See the event itself. Not that big, only 13 folks, but still good. I try not to take anything like less than like 6 to 8. They're really doing their best. Like either this room was smoke filled or they're taking this off of like a Panasonic flip phone. I don't know. Let's see. This is a pretty basic build, to be honest. Let's see, 8 of these, yeah. So 8 level 5 Eosmons. You run 4 of pretty much everything else that's Eosmon as well. And then they opted to go with double Morphomon, the promo, and the... Is this the BT17? They actually cut the old Really? Whoa, they cut the old Morphomon. They cut this guy? That's They cut a 5 search. That's wild to me. Oh, never mind. They have 1 copy of him. That's so weird. They have 1 copy of this guy. And then 2 Ukos, as you typically do. These are the memory Ukomon, by the way. I always forget what the new Morphomon and the promo one do. Let me see really quickly. Kill these. So the BT17 Morphomon is whenever you would Digivolve into Eosmon, you can reduce the cost by 1. So he makes like a 1 cost Digivolve, which is nice. Or if it's a different Digimon. Oh no, never mind. It is only this Digimon. And then Inheritance, when Eosmon's played, you may Digivolve into Eosmon in your hand with the Digivolution cost reduced by 3. That's really good for getting a level 6. That's fantastic, actually. Yeah, right, you got it. He was behind the Ukomon. Ukomon is the star of the show all the time, we know that. And then the new Morphomon, the promo Morphomon is a Reveal 3. He grabs a Tamer and Minoa, which I guess is nice. And then what is it? If you place one of your Digimon, then if you take this Digimon and put it underneath an Eosmon, you can play a Minoa Belushi for free. So if you have like a level 4 Eosmon on the board, you can like hard play this guy and then slot him up underneath, and then you can just play the Minoa Belushi for free. And he has the same effect, it seems. So not bad. This makes getting to level 6 is really nice because they're kind of heavy. So yeah, this one, the new BT17 one is 4 cost, and the old one is like 5, which is insane. So security attack +1 for every 3 Digivolution cards it has, and then for each Tamer you have in play, you can put the level 5 or lower Eosmon from your trash on the sources, and if you put more than 2, delete. And the newer one is the one that's really scary. For every Tamer on the board, you and your opponent, it's +1000 DP, which gets us pretty high very quickly. Was it Tamers don't unsuspend? Oh, that's Minoa Belushis. This is like delete something weaker than it, and then you can play an Eosmon for free once per turn on attack or on Digivolve. So yeah, unfortunately, nothing super crazy here. Okay, these cards are not included in. Okay, I was about to say these cards up front are not included in this deck, by the way. This is already 50 cards. So yeah, Eosmon's there. I don't think there's not, unfortunately, a lot that they have to mess with. You can definitely get caught with your pants down from Eosmon, and then they get like a good run, and it's like, uh-oh, I'm about to die. This is probably really indicative of where they're at right now. Level 4 I still think is pretty high. Yeah, so the lower end is all just draw power with Koromon, Flamon, discard, draw, look for Tamers. Any Tamers, by the way, and any hybrids, by the way. This Flamon is really flexible. And then Ukomon, couple Bokomon. Upper end is, as you'd expect, both copies of the BT17 Garurumon and Wolfmon, or Wolfmon. I don't know how it is in English. They essentially just both go into Ancient Garurumon and just eat your security alive. And then if they've got the Koji, 3-cost Koji here, they can't be blocked. If you got this guy, it's 4 2-room reset, and then he gets jamming as well. This deck is so quick. It also gives them nasty access to some pretty disgusting option cards. 2 copies of Koen or Crimson Blaze, 2 copies of Heaven's Judgment. They've got the Guardian Deity Spirits, is it? Guardian Deity, something like that. Old Ancient Spirits, that's what they got, yeah. They've got both of those, or they've got all of those. Yeah, and also the deck, because it is yellow, just has access to Jet Silphymon for recovery. So very quick, ignores blocker, don't block me, bro, and just quickly die in like 3 turns, maybe 4. Also, 1 copy of Dexmon, because nobody likes Numamon, man. And if we're just gonna both go aggro, then stop it, don't go wide. That's pretty much it. Yeah, there was a lot this week. Bye!